a lot of people, they got to be this on the internet. I've seen a lot more return with word of mouth and referrals, just talking to people. People will only do business with people who they trust and who they like. You can have it all. You can have the most valuable, most epic video that you can produce for them, but if they don't like working with you, they're not going to work with you. Yeah, with these word of mouth and referrals, I'd say an average per week is probably like 2 to 3 out of maybe 40 or 50. I'm kind of taking things slowly, really being more selective with the people who I bring on into my business and who I'm able to really just help. I'd rather give the most value where I'm able to versus take on a lot and then try to figure it out and not give the best value. I've lost it all at one point, and actually fairly recently in the last couple of years. I have full trust and confidence in myself to repair it back. So with that worry also comes the understanding that I can do it again. I don't think there's anything that can stop me from doing that. Yeah, I don't see myself ever not holding a camera, clicking that shutter button. Don't let somebody tell you you're not worthy or you're not valuable. You might think it's like that, or people might make you think so, but in reality you're probably a lot more than what you even say you're worth.
All right, guys, welcome back to Video Income Secrets podcast. Into today's episode is gonna be special because I have my brother Ricardo. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Very excited to be here.
Yeah, man, it's an honor to have you. So for the people who don't know you, can you introduce yourself and just tell us for how long you've been doing video and how it's going right now?
Sure thing. So I'm a Philadelphia-based videographer and photographer. Been here for the last 2.5 years, but started video and photo career back in 2020. So I've been really on 5 years now to the date of doing this kind of stuff behind the camera. It started with just drone videography. When I first got a drone, I got the DJI Mavic Air 2, and I was traveling doing barter work. So anywhere from hotels, resorts, Airbnbs, and doing kind of trade packages. So I would give them certain video highlight while I was, there during my visit in trade for stay. And so I did that all over the world. I did that in Japan, did that in France, I did that in Costa Rica, Mexico, Ecuador, and all over the US. And then I really kind of got into more of video production. So more of the corporate realm of things, be it social media content creation, branding, anything from brand story videos to headshots to training videos to course videos. And then, of course, podcast production, which I lead my own podcast, and I also create podcasts for other businesses.
So are you full-time right now?
Correct, yeah.
For how long you've been full-time?
I've been full-time since moving here to Philadelphia from Portland, Oregon, so about 2.5 years now.
So I have this, I'm super curious though, like did you register your business, or you have like an LLC or?
I did. Yeah, I started out as a freelancer first,
Okay.
Like everybody who kind of scrappily does it. I just worked as a 1099 contractor basis, and I still do on certain cases, with other media agencies that want to hire me on for being a director of photography or a director or a cam operator. I'll work as a contractor there, but I do have my own LLC, my own company called Rico Media Productions, and then my sub company, which is the podcast, Why We Move, under that.
I'm curious to know, like, do you have a specific niche that you're serving? I know you mentioned some of the things that you're doing already, but do you have a specific niche, or you just do a little bit of everything?
That's a great question. I feel like I've been looking for my niche for a long time, and I've kind of landed in the corporate world.
Okay.
So branding is really the bigger niche that I kind of do, but really corporate work around helping businesses tell their stories through compelling media. And so that's kind of landed me in a lot of, here in the Philadelphia region, a lot of political kinds of campaigns and businesses that I work with. So I do a lot of brand story videos, a lot of recaps, a lot of different kinds of social media ads and commercials. So really in the political and business world of things, and that those niches kind of really are everywhere. And so I'm still, I guess, trying to find it. And as far as like if it's agriculture, if it's, construction, if it's real estate, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, I've shot it all. And I want to say that a bulk of my work right now is in the political ads kind of campaign.
So what made you decide to actually, start doing corporate instead of other niches? Like, why?
Definitely have found kind of myself really taking on any kinds of gigs, and just I kind of landed here. So when I first moved about 2.5 years ago here to Philly from Portland, Oregon, I was really just trying to get my feet wet, just like trying to figure out, the network, the people here, So I went to a lot of networking events, places like what they call here the Pyramid Club, different entrepreneurial circles, accelerator programs, and really started to realize like the most output that I can give, the best kind of work that I can develop is in a controlled kind of studio space or controlled area. And so I really got into interviews and really dialed in and mastered what is a good 3-point light setup with good audio, good composition and everything of the sort. And so I went into just interviews really, and the people who were interested in purchasing interviews were a lot of corporate clients. So agencies who were pitching to bigger businesses who wanted, some sort of talking head video. I was that guy. And so, I went through a lot of YouTube rabbit holes and a lot of just testing. I probably have like, maybe a couple terabytes worth of footage that I've used or that I have on my hard drives are that are just me doing test shoots in a controlled, studio space.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think I just kind of landed in this naturally from doing and practicing and mastering talking head videos.
Nice. So, did you make a lot of money during the presidential campaign last November?
Yeah, that was an interesting time because my so a lot of the work that I did was a lot of ads for that, so not necessarily a lot of talking heads like I usually do in that
Mm-hmm.
time of the year, or at least in this part of the election time, where like even with just city or county officials are coming up,
Yeah.
but it definitely it was a lot of business. It was good business.
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't. It wasn't the funnest, I'd say, given the circumstances here in the U.S. It's
Yeah.
just kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And so I was definitely like working with a local company here to create a lot of progressive type material, type of content.
Mm-hmm.
And so we weren't really shooting a lot of current moments or events or whatnot or presses,
Yeah.
but we did gather a lot of previous footage and a lot of clips that were already captured and photos that were already captured, and then creating and editing in post production a kind of ad or a campaign for them.
Cool. All right. So let's talk about how you acquire clients. You have any sort of systems? Do you have a way to get leads? Like, can you walk me through the journey of you, coming from not having a client into acquiring a client and having them become maybe a returner or something like that?
Absolutely. So my favorite way of outreach really is through warm outreach, and that's through networking. It's literally through talking. I think a lot of people get so caught up with they got to be this on social, they got to be this on the internet, they got to be giving advice, they got to be, just showing up online, which I think is a very powerful thing. That's something that I'm still, mastering and trying to learn myself and applying, slowly. I think I've seen a lot more return with word of mouth and referrals. And so I think it all comes down and boils down to just being a genuine person and connecting with people and just talking to people. Like that's literally been my gift from since I got out of high school. I just like decided that I wanted to be more friendly and be more inclusive to folks.
Yeah.
And so getting into business obviously is a very important skill to be able to obtain and practice with other people, because at the end of the day, I know it's a cliche thing to say, but people will only do business with people who they trust and who they like. And so you can have it all. You can have the greatest, most valuable, most epic video that you can produce for them, but if they don't like working with you, they're not going to work with you. And that also gives to the point of finding retainer clients. Is my point is that as soon as you talk to me, I want to create a connection with you, establish some sort of relationship that works not only to help you and provide you business and give you a return on your investment, but also be able to feel good about it. And so my thing is I'm always here to create the environment and create the space where we're allowed to, play with the things that we're creating, and it allows for your business to really get honed in and specific. And so all that really comes to the beginning point, which is just talking and having a good time and essentially connecting with people.
So you're just connecting with them like physically, physical meetings.
Yeah, either physical meetings or even virtual meetings.
Okay.
Connecting is kind of like a broader term I use.
Yeah.
So it's more for like being able to establish good communication is the main thing.
But you're working with like, I don't know if I should say, high profile people like politicians and things like that. How do you do you like how do you get to meet these people? I would assume it's not an easy thing.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily these folks who I'm connected to directly.
Okay.
It's obviously through not obviously, but like it is definitely a confusing world. It's through agencies and through PR companies and
Okay.
other per se smaller businesses who are trying to get into the media world that
Mm-hmm.
are connected to these folks and then hire me to come through. And so I create
Okay.
certain packages for them to be able to allow them to create that campaign and that PR campaign for them to boost those political officials and those whoever they are
Yeah.
into the media.
So talk to me about pricing. Like, how do you have like pre-made packages, or do you go based on like the type of client you're trying to serve?
Yeah, so I essentially try to give what I call as value-based pricing, and I think that's probably a term a lot of people like to refer. I tend to step away from packages because every project is different, every client is different, and the needs really kind of depend on what they're looking to achieve, the problem they're looking to solve. And so I approach it with a mindset of, here is internally for me what my, going rates are, what I believe my value is going forward with the time, the labor, the effort that I'm putting in, the thinking, the creative thinking that I'm also establishing. And I put a price tag on that for myself. But essentially, working with people's budgets is essentially what I end up doing for the most part. But understanding that there's a tug and play. So, the packages can be more so deliverables, like this is the amount of work that I can provide for you and output for you. Is your budget and where can you meet me with that? In a sense, like how imaginative can I be with these productions? And how creative are you allowed to let me be with the given budget?
So you're doing sales goals,
Oh,
basically.
all the time.
Yeah. How many on a, let's say monthly
Well, it always depends,
on
with
average?
these, yeah, with these word of mouth and referrals. I'd say an average per week is probably like really the ones that stick are probably like 2 to 3 out of maybe 40 or 50.
Wow.
And I would say that's like a busy week, and
Yeah.
that only really comes through the spring and summertime. In the
Yeah.
wintertime, of course, the fall it's a little bit slower. So anywhere from, if I can get on a 5 to 10 a week call or calls a week, then it would be, maybe one sales out of that month or two out of that month. But again, with these days, I'm looking more for retainer clients, again, building that relationship with people. So my bandwidth right now isn't nowhere near to what I was used to what I used to be on calls with. So I'm kind of taking things slowly, really being more selective with the people who I bring on into my business and who I'm able to really just help because I'd rather give the most value where I'm able to versus take on a lot and then try to figure it out and not give the best value.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you're growing up, but you have a family, kids, wife.
Thankfully, I'm still good. I do have a girlfriend who I love very much, and yeah, I'm slowly building towards that life, and I know
Mm-hmm.
like that's coming probably soon within the next few years.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a heavy thing on my mind.
Yeah. I mean, the reason why I'm saying that because, yeah, of course, I have a family, but the time that I was single, I had a lot of time, right? So I was able to take on more projects and charge a little cheaper. But the more I
Mhm.
grew up, the more I actually started just not having enough time, and then I started to value my time a little more. So I would now be a little more selective on the projects that I take, and then I'll probably prioritize projects that pay more. I also like, of course, considering the amount of value that I'm gonna provide to the client. So I see where you're coming from, but sometimes it's just also like just being tired of just doing cheap gigs and deciding, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just deciding to take on like, better projects that you can actually deliver the best value for them, and be able to get paid well as well.
I completely agree. I think there's like a balance that you have to take because as a creative, and not a lot of people talk about this, but it is draining. Like
Yeah.
having to work, endless hours on a project that doesn't pay you well not only like drains obviously like your wallet because you can't maybe pay for lunch, pay for whatever groceries and whatnot, but also creatively it just kind of puts you in this rut. And I think it's important to touch on because it's, as creatives, there's so much value that we're able to give. And not to boast ourselves, but like it really is true that the power that we're able to provide businesses and even other people who are looking to purchase our services, it goes beyond just a single touch point. Like our media, once it gets to the internet, spreads like wildfire, and it can
Yeah.
touch anybody in the world because everybody now has a phone. And so I think it has a lot of value of what we bring to the table.
Yes, I'm actually impressed. Like, if you are able to do somewhere around 10 calls a week, like I mean, I don't want to call you a typical videographer, but in general, for a typical videographer, that's a lot. So, what that tells me is like you're very good in marketing. How did you learn, how did you learn marketing and,
I
doing those things like sales calls and
that,
how and where?
just practice, really, just practice. Apart from just obviously like connecting and going to networking events, is I'm a podcast host, and so naturally I have to be good at interviewing, I have to be good at talking to people. And the more I do that, the more I feel like it adds in value to the calls that I'm able to hop on. And so it really was through trial and error. Like I never went to school for this. I read some books on it, but never really could give one point or one source all the credit because I just really tried. I like learned something maybe on the internet too, on social media after scrolling for a minute. And I would just apply that one thing into the next call. And these calls really are just, or meetings are just with people who, again, know me or I know them or I refer, or they refer me, or, their friends of friends tell them about me or tell me about them.
Mm-hmm.
And it ends up just being practice. And so apart from the networking events and the different entrepreneurial circles, is one thing that also I think has the value or has a good credit to my ability to hop on so many calls or even just connect with people, is I'm a dancer. I'm a social dancer. So I dance salsa, bachata, zouk, kizomba. So I'm out all the time. I'm always out around people. And, I wear this hat that has my brand. It's at the
Mm-hmm.
at the back that says, "Why do you move?"
Yeah.
Again, part of the slogan of Why We Move, my podcast. And that
Mm-hmm.
I think gets people interested and gets people curious about what I do, who I
Yeah.
am. And eventually just, comes into a circle, and I tell them that I'm a videographer and photographer. If they're looking for any services, let me know. Or if they have a friend that they would like to connect me with, let me know. And just the more I think I tell people who I am,
Yeah.
what I do, the
Yeah.
more it comes.
Oh, nice. So it's just talking about it. That's it. And then
That's
they
literally it.
how does it happen? Like, so I'm trying to understand like how they get to a point where they book a call with you. Is it like you talk to them about your services and eventually they need someone, they call you, or
I essentially kind of poke my network a lot, is what I like to say. I
okay.
ask people, friends and friends, or people who I meet out regularly on the dance floor or out in public. I just say, either I'm dressed a certain way or I'm bringing my camera because I bring my camera everywhere with me. And people just ask me, like, are you a photographer? Are you a videographer? Well, really, they ask me if I'm a photographer because a lot of people assume if you have a camera, you're a photographer. But regardless of the camera, they don't know. And so when I tell them I'm a videographer as well, they're like, oh, I haven't really met somebody who's a videographer and a photographer or just a videographer. So I think there's probably like a pool of videographers that are probably a little bit more rare than a photographer out in the wild or out in real life. And so people are naturally attracted to like, oh, dang, like you can do videos, like that's unique, that's different. And essentially I just, upon them piquing their interest in that, I just ask them like, hey, do you know anybody who's like, are you looking for video services or photo services, or do you know anybody? And they're like, yeah, I'm actually thinking about X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, oh, cool, here's my card, there's my calendar link, you can book a call with me. at your disposal, and then we can hop on a discovery call, can help you with any problems, give you a little quick free consultation and some strategy. And if you want to work with me, great. If you don't, that's totally fine. So
Nice.
I really put the power in people's choices.
Yeah.
And then I follow up. If I grab their contact info as well, I'll
Mm-hmm.
shoot them a text every Mondays. I get on my CRM dashboard and I'll just shoot out some messages saying, hey, how's it going? What's going on? And if you're still looking for video services, like we mentioned during that one day when we met, then great. If not, then, I'll see you next Monday.
Nice. Let's talk about systems. You just talked about your CRM. What else do you have in terms of like now you just mentioned how every Monday you text people, things like that. What systems do you have around your outreach or client acquisition?
I would say my favorite thing to implement is time management. So time blocking, I should say. So throughout the years, I've just realized like I'm not the type of person to just kind of have like a work day and then get things done. Like I need things to be structured in the sense of system. So for example, in the morning, anytime after I'm done with say my workouts or whatever my morning routine is, I'll go and the first thing that I do when I open up my laptop is I have at least 30 minutes to just write down things that are very important for me to do and things that are not important for me to do but need to be done still. And then after that, I'll go into like an hour or two of just client relationship management. So whether that's outreaching to people and following up, whether that's new contacts that have reached my book that I need to reach out to, whether it's follow ups with people who I've already sent proposals or messages to and doing a follow up with them, it all just kind of ranges within that first couple hours, but I do that on a daily basis. And so I reserve, certain days of the week for certain actions, but always what's consistent is every morning I have that 1 to 2 hour time block where I do just that. And that I think has been the most I've received the most success because it's just consistency. It's just people will forget what you do and who you are unless you're at the top of their list or they see you all the time. And so, I think that's a strategy with content for sure that I've realized. I haven't been, very active on social media. I actually took a little bit of a break, but understanding that that's definitely a part of my business as well. But essentially, you can still show up for people even if you're not on social by
Yeah.
just giving them a ring, which is a little bit more of a personal touch.
Yeah. It's very personal.
Yeah.
Nice. That is awesome, man. So what CRM are you using currently?
I just use a Notion document. So I like
Okay.
everything on Notion. I've built out a little template where I basically fill out a name, date that I contacted them, phone number, if I get an email, and then the first message that I sent them, and then the follow up.
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll go into a Kanban board, which just kind of I move around, whether it's if I
Yeah.
need to check in with them, follow up with them, or if they're, a client and they've sold, then I'll move them there. But essentially Notion.
Oh, nice. You need to check out VidLead Studio. Have you heard about it?
I actually was on VidLead for a minute.
Oh
Yeah, I
yeah.
like yeah. So Go High Level is like the main software
Yeah.
that's used for it, or it's a similar one. Maybe I don't even know what it is anymore. But I was on VidLead. I think I want to get back into it,
Mm-hmm.
but I just have such a system right now that and it works for me that I'm kind of hesitant to change. But
Mm-hmm.
perhaps in the future.
Oh, nice. Cool. So let's talk about revenue. First of all, we're gonna talk about how much money you're making per month, roughly, and things like that. And now you're full time. I'm assuming you have expenses and things like that. So do you ever worry? They say if you they say you have a month where you have no clients at all. Like, do you ever worry like, okay, because you don't have a 9 to 5 job, am I gonna pay bills and things like that? Do you ever get worried or anxious?
All the time. I don't think that ever goes away. And I've heard many, big entrepreneurs, big businessmen, and even like people in my life who are, successful in that way, much, much more successful than I am, talk about that worry and that stress. And yeah, it definitely hits my mind, but I've lost it all at one point and actually fairly recently in the last couple of years. But I have full trust and confidence in myself to repair it back. So with that worry also comes the understanding that I can, you know, do it again. And I don't think there's anything that can stop me from doing that. So, yes, the worry exists, but it's about understanding that, you can get through it like you've done so in the past, or you will figure it out. And I think that brings me back to, myself and centers me in understanding that everything is okay.
So how much you making currently on average per month?
And this time of year, I'm actually projected to come up to close to 6 grand a month, 6 to 8 actually. I'm working on a couple more clients, but kind of expanding my reach a little bit more now with the topic of family and kids and whatnot. I definitely want to get a little bit higher to be able to support that. But yeah, on average right now, since the winter season, I'm averaging about 4 and reaching to 6 to 8 within the next couple months.
Nice. So what's your dream monthly income that you would want to hit that would make you happy?
Yeah, I don't think a monthly income can necessarily make me happy. I think it's an ambition that I do have
Yeah.
to reach that will bring me, some level of joy, but I don't think will complete me. But I'm aiming towards a 25 grand a month limit, or not limit, but like goal to be able to not only just do what I'm doing and continue doing what I'm doing, but also allow myself to step more out of my business and put in people and hire people to be able to help with that.
Oh, speaking of that, do you have a team currently? Do you have an editor?
Yeah, I have one virtual assistant right now that helps me with everything, but I'm basically a one-man show. I do hire other people, other photographers, videographers as second shooters and editors as well to help me with the various projects. But I would say 40 to 60% of the time it's me who's doing everything as a one-man show, and then the last 60 to or 40 to 60% is from a team that I contract.
So your virtual assistant, what do they do? Just
Yeah, they handle everything from logistics to shoots to like production plans to account managing to blog campaign writing and internal marketing stuff, plans and stuff like that. So they're kind of like a well-rounded assistant where they help with any area that I may be missing, or any area that I just don't care to do because it's not my zone of genius.
so right now you I mean, apart from your subcontractors, you really like shoot, edit, and deliver. You're doing everything.
Do it all.
Wow. Wow. How is it going for you? You ever get tired?
Yeah, I mean it's stressful for sure. I definitely I'm luckily I'm working with a couple retainer clients right now who I've mastered the system. I've worked with them for quite a few months now, and so it's been a little bit, well, with one I'm about to onboard the next one, but the next one is pretty much a cut and copy paste from the first one. So essentially I've built out the systems, built out the workflows to be able to be able to replicate it easily and within a good matter of time, or at least I know what kind of time I need to deliver or need to commit to, where I'm starting to think about bringing on an editor to help with that, production assistant, obviously my production assistant from the beginning, but more so like the editing, the post-production side of things is where I've realized is my bottleneck, and that's where I need to invest more time and energy and system creating to be able to allow myself to take on these other clients.
Yeah. So what's the most amount of money have you ever charged a client?
For a one-time gig,
Yeah.
yeah. So for a one-time gig, I was on set for a bioscience company in the Philadelphia area region here, and it was for a relatively dynamic event, and it was a 9 grand project. So they had me hire on. They want to do some video, photo, a little like fireside chat kind of thing, and for 9 grand, we were able to deliver a recap video / brand story video kind of hybrid thing that they want to do, some social clips, a photo gallery, and then some standalone fireside chat clips for them.
Nice. And what about like retainer clients?
Retainer, I've sold a 6 grand retainer in the past. That was the highest.
On a
No,
monthly
sorry,
basis. So it was
that was
60 grand per
7.
month.
Yeah, that was 7, and that was a dentist. That was actually a lot of fun. I actually miss working with them.
Wow, yeah, that's fun. How what did it look like? Like deliverables, and how long did you stay with them? Well, how long did they stay with you?
Yeah, so we did a quarter of a year plan with them, and unfortunately, they had to move their dental offices over to San Francisco, I believe, from Delaware here in the East Coast. And so I ended up working with them for 3 months, and it was a lot of social media that they wanted to do, and I can't quite remember exactly the full deliverables, but we did do YouTube for them. So we did long form content, we did short form content, and then we did distribution where
Okay.
we would do their social media management for them.
Oh, okay. So when they moved, you couldn't follow? I mean, not follow, but keep working with them
Correct.
remotely, or maybe sometimes fly over there.
Yeah, so they actually stopped practicing dentistry, and
Okay.
they took a year of a hiatus to be able to take care of some family troubles that were going on in San Francisco. And
Okay.
so it's actually been close to, it's March, so it's been close to 9 months since.
Yeah.
And, potentially we'll see if they got bandwidth and a budget for me to go out there and shoot for them. Because it was relatively condensed. We were able to go from three shoots a month down to one shoot a month and condense everything to be able to get all the deliverables. But there was an issue with just patient overflow and with just busyness. And so I had to break up the production days into 3 days and only three half days. And so, depending on if they want to start that again, I'd be happy to come up or fly over and do maybe 1 to 2 in a week, in a series of days, and be able to get that done.
So I'm curious to know, like, what tools are you using right now, like in terms of like cameras, software, lenses, lighting, things like that?
Sure. So I use the Sony system for everything that's video related, camera wise, obviously. For softwares, I use the Adobe Creative Suite. So I'm on Premiere for video editing, Lightroom Classic for photo and Photoshop as well, Adobe Illustrator as well for any kind of graphics, logos, vectorized items, stuff like that. Adobe Express also has been coming in clutch versus using Canva, which a lot of people like to use for like social media graphics and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
Adobe Express is like a hidden
Is
gem.
is you think it's better than Canva? Now I'm used to Canva now, so I'm
Yeah,
like,
I would say there's definitely some kinks, but
okay.
it's just like learning Canva. I think that's where people like get kind of hesitant about it. It's just essentially understanding where your tools exist. But I like Adobe Express. I mean, it's free. It comes with the Adobe Creative Cloud. So like, why do I need to pay another, monthly charge for Canva when I already have it in the Adobe Creative Cloud? So yeah, I use that for software for like more of the editing side of things. I have my plethora of different kinds of softwares for all kinds of business related things, be it Google Workspace for emails and communication, Zoom for meetings,
Loom,
Loom for screen
probably.
recordings. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. There's definitely some softwares that I don't remember that I purchased and keep paying
Yeah.
and just need to cancel. But
Yeah, definitely. In terms of camera, do you think Sony is the future? How do you see Sony versus Canon and other
yeah,
brands like Panasonic? I'm a Panasonic user, but I'm trying to transition to Sony.
oh, nice. Uh, Sony is definitely dominating. They're definitely big on innovating, their cameras, their systems, their softwares. And that's like company where I've seen the most technological advancement and also investment. So I would say that they're probably, one of the top brands of cameras, but there's so many good cameras out there and good camera brands. Canon has been killing it from the start as well. A lot of people hate on Nikon, but their lenses are crazy good, for outdoor stuff like that too, and they're expensive as well, and rightfully so. But yeah, there's probably going to be what I would predict is a lot of competition from the other brands, which who knows, maybe Canon come on top, Sony can. I'm actually very excited to see what new things are going to come from all companies out there.
I think Sony has something special, right? Like he combines budget and good together. So true. Like they have the best cameras, obviously. Some of the best cameras on the market right now. I mean, Canon is good too, but what's good about Sony, for me personally, what I realize is like their lenses ecosystem. They have many lenses to choose from, ranging from they allow like other companies to even make their lenses. While for Canon, they don't want anyone to be making their lenses. They used to, but now they stopped. So I find Canon a little more expensive for most people. Now, if money is not a problem, if you're making good money, it's probably not gonna be an issue. But for someone who's probably starting out or on budget, I think you find the most value from Sony compared to Canon. Now, Panasonic is great, but it's too small. They don't have many lenses. They don't have many mounts. I mean, it's not about the mounts, but lens mounts or whatever. But I just feel like For me, I've been using Panasonic for maybe 5 years now or more, and I was frustrated by the autofocus.
I've heard that's a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem. So they have good cameras. They have like their cameras are really amazing, but the autofocus has been a problem. But also when you start, getting into full frame, they don't have that many cameras in full frame. So that's another problem. But Sony has everything. They got full frame. They got crop sensors. They got lenses for everything. Cheap, expensive, everything. I think they have a better range they can choose from. Either you're a new beginner or someone who's experienced. I think they're going to dominate DJI.
Yeah.
I don't know
DJI
what
has been
DJI is
coming
gonna do.
in. That's true.
Yeah, I was watching this podcast. I think Tony and Chelsea. They were talking about how Chinese companies are trying to dominate now the camera industry, and they're saying that DJI may come up with the full frame camera and that may kill everybody. So
Dang. I mean, I could see that. That'll be very interesting. DJI has been making a really good to, yeah, I think dominate the more like content creator side of things. But I do see them coming through with a lot of good things. Like, I mean, I started with the DJI drone when I first got into it, and I still use the DJI drone, the Mavic 3, for any kind of drone aerial photo or video.
yeah,
But even seeing I forget what it's called. Is it the DJI Neo, the drone that follows you? Like
yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of innovation. That's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I think they're very good. I mean, they are drones like everybody uses DJI drones anyways. I think they're dominating in drone action cameras. And now they got the new little small camera. What's it called? Pocket 3?
Yeah, the Osmo Pocket 3.
Yeah, it
that's
was
a good
my
one.
Pocket 3. That's killing. So I think the next camera, they bought a camera brand. What is it called? Hasselblad?
Oh, Hasselblad.
Yeah.
Hasselblad. Yeah, Hasselblad.
Yeah, I heard that they bought it. So they're probably going to use their
Oh,
technology. Yeah.
oh, that's gonna be crazy. Those cameras, those sensors are gonna be awesome.
Yeah. So I don't know, man, what's gonna happen. For sure, Sony's not, is gonna keep
Yeah.
fighting for sure to keep its place. Canon, I don't know. I think Canon eventually. I think Canon will die at some point. I don't know. I
Interesting
just feel
prediction.
like Canon is going to die at some point. It's gonna be like Nikon. I mean, Nikon is still alive, but I feel like it's kind of dying slowly.
That's interesting. Well, you did see that Nikon, I think, and Red
Yeah, Nikon.
collaborated.
Yeah, they bought
Nikon
Red.
bought Red. Yeah. So like I think there's gonna be some interesting moves like from
I don't,
different
I don't know.
companies
What do you think
merging.
they're gonna make? Because I feel like photography and videography in general is kind of shifting towards like content creation.
Yeah.
You know, the film cinematic kind of thing is kind of disappearing. Yes, we're gonna keep seeing like Hollywood movies, Netflix movies, and things like that. But average videographer, photographer, I think we all gonna end up into this podcasting, content creation kind of thing. That's how I see it. So whoever is making cameras for creators, because you're a videographer, I'm a videographer. Now I'm a YouTuber. You doing YouTube, you filming podcasts, you do it like you're becoming more like a creator, like content creator kind of thing. You're doing the same thing for your clients' businesses. So I feel like whoever is doing that is going to win. I don't know the future of. I mean, first of all, like the reason why Red was acquired, I think they were not doing so well, in my opinion. I don't think the market was that big for like those types of cinema cameras. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Just saying.
Yeah, it's very
Anyways,
interesting.
yeah. Let's talk about some of the challenges you're having right now. What are the key challenges that you're having?
Yeah, so I think again, to what I referred to earlier, like being editing is a bottleneck. Really, what that means is time. Is time for it all. Balance in understanding like where my time as a business owner needs to be, whether it's growing the company, feeding the clients, creating more systems to, be more organized, to create higher quality product. Like that's always a problem, I think, is like the development side of things and where I stand with that because, at the end of the day, like the reason why I created this business is to be able to escape from it. And I'm realizing that I have excitement with growing it, but also I'm at war with how much should I grow it and where do I feel satisfied enough, you know? And so, and it all comes down to time, like how I'm spending my time, where it's going to. And I've noticed that like I'm a lot happier when I'm creating the content for myself versus for, you know, businesses. As much as I love working with businesses, and that is my, you know, a place where I get a lot of value from. I also know that I can't be doing this forever. And so
Yeah.
understanding what my 5 year plan is like, I want, to your point as well earlier, what you said is like, I'm starting to choose where my time goes more wisely. Not only with just budget of projects, but also just with the types of projects that I'm taking on. And even like, do I want to take on projects this much longer? Do I want to get more into content creation and find different avenues to create revenue for myself that still involves my passion for, you know, video production and photography, but that can look different. That's not so conventional.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like time is not, it's not an easy thing. I mean, like you see it as you grow up and you get some, you know, more responsibilities and everything. You start even now. I know you value your time, but now time becomes a little more expensive.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I 100% feel it. So what make you fulfilled? Like what would be the ideal work conditions for your business right now?
The ideal work conditions would be where I would be shooting more and editing less. Being able to be on set with people. Again, like my main thing from the start has always been to connect with people. And so I connect with people whether I have a camera in my hands or I don't, or I'm on set and I'm just communicating with them. I think that's where I feel the most value come, because that's where I'm able to deliver the most impact. I think my gift has been communicating and connecting with people and networking in a sense. And so that's where I see my zone of genius shine and where I feel the most value come alive.
Okay, that's interesting. So what's holding you back? Why you not hiring? You haven't hired an editor yet.
I do battle with quality control, because I've worked with a lot of people in the past and the quality just isn't there. It's like either rushed because they just don't care about the project,
Yeah.
because nobody is going to care about your business more than you do, you know, or it's just not done well. And I think I just haven't found perhaps the right team or team member to be able to create high quality products to the caliber that I believe is deserved for every client.
No, that makes sense. I've been there, so you're not alone. But have you tried like overseas, trying to hire people overseas?
Only my virtual assistant, and so I definitely am more keen to doing that because I know there's a lot of talent out there, and I would love to give the opportunity to people who, you know, are looking for this kind of work versus somebody I have to pull teeth from to be able to convince to edit
Yeah.
something of mine here in the U.S. So yeah, that's definitely something I'm very interested in.
It's okay. We can talk offline for sure. Give you some
Yeah,
tips.
I would love that.
Yeah. Like I haven't edited my own videos for like maybe the last 5 years, I guess.
No kidding.
Yeah. Yes, sir. And
Okay.
you know okay, I'm not gonna okay, so I don't wanna give myself credit. Okay. I was forced into it. Okay. Because I used to be exactly like you. Like I was like no one is gonna edit like me. Right. So also like I couldn't afford like hiring local guys. So what happened is I got married and then of course I was still working, doing my full-time job. Yeah, and then I had my first kid. And dude, I didn't have any time left for me like to be able to work. I would just go out and shoot some stuff on the weekend. During the week I'm working. After work I have to be there for the family. So it's like I have no time left. Now I have
Yeah.
clients calling me for their projects and I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So usually when you're forced into a situation like that, you have no way out. I had to find a solution. So I started
Yeah.
looking into hiring like overseas, and eventually, I mean, the first 2 to 3 hires they were not so great, and then eventually, you know, the more you do it, the more you get better. And the key secret is really to just yes, you have to find someone and train them. So you have to spend time training them because if you don't train them, you just send them footage. They may send you whatever. Not because they are bad, because they just don't understand. They don't know your style. Could also be like the type of work. They say the editor maybe does mostly weddings and then you doing corporate and they don't know, they haven't done corporate before, but it doesn't mean that they don't know. They have the skills, but the styles are different. So it's just more about like, you know, spending time with them, give them like 1 or 2 weeks and then train them, right? Train them, give them an intensive training, and eventually, man, you may be surprised they may do a better job than you, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, man.
Help me solve a big problem in my business.
I'm telling you, dude, you're gonna feel so good. Imagine like shooting because you're gonna have more time to focus on your business, which is like, making more deals. You're not gonna worry about fulfillment. You just get on the calls and, close deals and get clients in, go work, shoot. After you shoot, upload your footage to Dropbox or Google Drive. And then it's like having your visual assistant. They can take care of everything. Just they
Nice.
send you. You wake up in the morning. The video is in your Dropbox. You just go check it out. If you have some comments, feedback, and they want to send to them, find a way to talk to them, review it. If you like it, you send it to the client, and then they get paid. you know.
That's smart, man. That's very smart. I definitely, yeah. You convinced me.
I think once you start doing that, yeah, you're probably gonna hit 10K easily because it's gonna give you more time to focus on getting more clients, even the cheaper ones,
Yeah.
a few cheaper ones, right? Because you have more time now.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I appreciate
Yes.
that. Thank you, Sam.
No problem, man. So tips for someone who's getting started into doing video. Yeah, never done video before and they wanna get into it. Yeah, maybe they have a little bit of skills on how to use a camera and they wanna do it as a business. What tips would you give to those people?
I would say that's a great question. I think for that, young professional or even just like young in their career professional who's getting paid to do this, that my best tip would be keeping the main thing in video production and understanding that you have so many avenues of how you can take a video and how you can really serve a client, how you can do whatever, this, and that. But like, if you lose your main thing, like that doesn't set you apart from anybody else. And so you can just be another videographer in the sea of videographers. But you got to make sure that you find the one thing that makes you unique and special. And whether it's, your communication style, whether it's like your editing style, whether it's your, I don't even know, like your ability to be on set and be professional with your time delivery and just like leave an impact on people, I think is the biggest tip of advice I can give. Because the last thing you want to do is be that awkward person that like, you get hired and great, but then they don't want to hire you back or they don't tell their friends about you. And then you're just kind of like in this endless loop of trying to find somebody to hire you when you're not really, somebody that's unique or special. And I think everybody has that uniqueness and specialness. It's just a matter of finding it and being able to express it openly and allow people to understand that too.
Cool. So my last question before we end, we eventually consider time. Do you see yourself doing this for the next 20 years, 25 years?
Yeah, I don't see myself ever not holding a camera, clicking that shutter button,
I
whether it's
like
for video or
that.
photo. I think I see myself, continuing with the skill and furthering my skill set. Now, see myself doing what I'm doing right now or video production for businesses, video production for, clients. I don't know, which I'm very curious to understand more of because like I said, I'm looking into just creating more of a different streams of revenue for myself. And something that I love doing, obviously, is this podcast. So, through affiliate programs that I'm already a part of, and different things that I'm creating as far as like lifestyle wise, and behind the scenes and stuff like that for my own personal brand. That hot word, personal brand. I'm very interested and curious to see what that's like. But will I ever drop a camera? I don't think so.
So the future for you would look like Peter McKinnon kind of thing. You'd be like the
What?
big, Peter McKinnon?
Oh,
It,
honestly, I do love Peter McKinnon. I do love that kind of content, that kind of like rawness and like ability, because that man has done so much, and other creators, like Casey Neistat, like that kind of stuff
yeah.
too. That real rawness of things. I think that's definitely an avenue I want to explore more and see if like I have what it takes, and I do believe that I do, but who knows when you start doing it.
Yeah. So the future would look like you would be maybe a big creator with your personal brand, and you still have maybe a creative agency kind of thing with a team, they're still serving the people that you're serving right now?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think
Okay.
to be able to, because to drop this right away, I think would not be a smart move.
Yeah.
I also still love doing this right now.
Yeah.
I just want it to be more sustainable, where I
Mm-hmm.
have my time back.
No, I just feel like more creators. I think we were talking about it before the recording of this podcast. I think more people, more creators are finding themselves becoming content creators, doing it for themselves and doing it for other people, businesses, and things like that. And obviously, video is the future now. I think video is gonna grow even bigger despite AI coming. Are you scared of AI?
No, I'm not scared. I
Are
think
you using AI now?
I'm using ChatGPT just to help me with
Okay.
certain things. Help me
Do
with.
you think at some point you're gonna have like an AI editor kind of thing where you like instead of hiring an editor, you just go shoot and just drop footage
I
into
think
an AI?
that's a good question. I actually do believe that that's going to happen where like certain people, just like with a style of a video, right? Like let's take like a social media talking head, educational captions, classics, something that you see on Instagram or TikTok, right? Just like that style of video, that's what's, I believe my prediction is going to happen with AI. People are going to seek that out. And yes, that will be more easily accessible and doable. But that also, opens up the market for something that's newer, that's fresher, that's original, that comes from the human, that's not AI. And I think that's
True.
where the value is going to come more from, and where you can probably charge more money because and just more for your time really for that kind of creative part, because that's something that a machine or AI cannot do. And I think that's what people are going to hunt for more and more, seeing that it's going to saturate the market with all these AI videos
Yeah.
per se.
Yeah, I think also like you can even see now there's some AI based editing software right now. And when people use those, you can spot a reel that was made by those AI software. And sometimes it's like cringe a little bit, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes you can see like it gets too much and it just doesn't look real. So there's something genuine missing in there. And yeah, like you're right. Even like this podcast, I think there are tools right now that can edit a podcast like this one. But I think eventually soon, I think we'll have something that's AI based that will be able to just maybe take these two angles and create an intro and outro and add music and correct audio and switch angles easily. I think it's coming for sure.
Definitely, which should be helpful. It'll like increase that part of the business a little
Yeah.
bit more streamlined. So yeah, I think will be helpful, and I don't think that's something to be afraid of.
Yeah, true. You're right. All right, man. I super appreciate you, man, for being here. Before we finish, do you have any last words, message you want to give to other creators slash videographers?
I think the last thing I do want to say is, well, first off, thank you again for having me, Sam. It's been great conversation. You're a phenomenal host. You ask a lot of great questions, and definitely has my brain running, and so I appreciate that. I think the last thing I do want to say for all the creators out there and videographers and people is like, don't let somebody tell you you're not worthy or you're not valuable or you're not worthy of the price tag that you give, because you might think it's like that or people might make you think so, but in reality you're probably a lot more than what you even say you're worth. And so just keep that in mind. I think like don't give up just because you get a budget or somebody that gives you a budget that's super low, that's not what you intended or whatever. It's like your value comes from the art and things that you're able to create from your own eye, and I think nobody can ever take this away from you. So yeah, value yourself and value the art that you create.
Nice, man. I appreciate you. Now, if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way to?
Yeah, so you can find me at Ricardo Topete. That's all lowercase, either on Instagram. I just started TikTok. I just started a YouTube as well to document my process with filmmaking and all this stuff. You can find all my links through Why We Move and all that. So it's Ricardo Topete. It's RICO
Yo, my brother, thank you so much for being here, man. This was awesome. I think we get to experience, me and my viewers, something genuine, authentic, and just to listen to you share your experience and everything, how you're building your business. This was 100% valuable. Super appreciate you, man. So thank you. And guys, for those watching on video, even listening on audio. Actually, there's a conversation that I had with my brother Rob on my last episode where we talked about how to create offers that actually sell as a videographer. So I'm gonna link that conversation in the show notes, and if you're watching on video, I'm gonna link it right here. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for being here, and we will see you on the next episode.
Sounds
Thanks,
good.
brother.
Laters, bro.